Oh, man, that was a tough one for the Red Sox on Monday night, getting walked off after a long rain delay, but they're back at it on Tuesday. And so are we. It's another edition of Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch. I'm your host, Mike Antonellis, one of the radio and TV broadcasters for the Worcester Red Sox. If this is your first time watching, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by hitting that subscribe button. It's free, easy to do. Comments are great. 70 yesterday. We keep rolling them. I'll keep checking them all day. I'll respond to them. And some of the gang at Red Sox Now, if you see the Red Sox Now logo, that's them responding to some of you. So it's a team effort. And glad to be here on this Tuesday as we roll on. We'll have our 100th episode coming up this week. I'll let you know when that happens. But can't, thank you guys and gals enough for all of this, and really appreciate the support. And a tough one for the Red Sox. We'll get to that. We'll talk a little bit about Roman Anthony leading off. Great game. Going fishing. What does that mean? And, of course, your amazing, outstanding comments. Well, I missed the end of not the end, just the bottom of the ninth. I fell asleep in the bottom of the ninth, but I rewatched it this morning. Ugly. The two-hit batters. You wouldn't have had Chapman anyways. Not an easy situation. Baseball is somewhat unfair at times. First pitch at 6:41 their time. You could say, why didn't they just suspend the game? Well, I think they just want to get the game in. They don't want to have a half inning. You could have suspended it and then you finished it today. But I don't think they wanted to do that, because if you do that, you still have to move everything up, and it was late to begin with. So that way you just get the game out of the way, and then you have a normal time on Tuesday night. But that's tough. This game, and I think sometimes we're unfair because we look at a lot of these guys just as statistics sometimes, or a player on a page, and there is a human element. I try to bring that out. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, watching baseball live, been with players, and know a little bit behind the scenes. Guys get tired, and there's a human element to this. But that was a tough weekend. You tough weekend with the Dodgers, very emotional. Then they had plane issues, and you don't play a lot of Monday night after a Sunday, even though the game was on the day. But that's still a quick turnaround, and I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's tough. There weren't many people there, and those are the ones you got to grind out. And the Red Sox had chances. The bullpen to me has still been really good, and we'll get to what Cora said about the bullpen in a bit. But I had a few people saying yesterday, well, Chapman, let Hicks do it. And Hicks did pitch Sunday, and you wouldn't have had Chapman anyways. He did warm up. He was warming up in the ninth and then had to shut it down. That wasn't easy. But you do see Jorge Alcala now has been in 3 high-leverage spots in a row, and he's looked completely different. That's why certain guys, and I mentioned this yesterday, don't pitch certain innings. That's why you can't put anyone closing. I don't feel comfortable with Jordan Hicks closing. I said that yesterday over Chapman. No way. It's not even the same stratosphere, to be honest, on how I feel. And that happens when you put guys in different roles. Now, yesterday, I give him a bit of a break. He pitched Sunday. They had the long delay. That's hard. And that's a game yesterday where I get it. That first inning, first and third, nobody out, you don't score. A lot of strikeouts again. Not good with runners on base. 4 runs should be enough to win a big league game, but, yesterday maybe you need a little bit more. Right? 4 runs against the Dodgers in the way your bullpen pitches, but yesterday it wasn't enough. You needed a little bit more, and you had chances. 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Not great. But that first inning killed you. First and third, nobody out. Strikeout, pop-up, strikeout from 3, 4, 5. But you battled back. I thought Fitz, I give Fitz credit because that game could have gotten really out of whack. The fact that he gave you 4, it looked like he wasn't going to give you 4. Bases loaded, nobody out. He gets out of that inning. He threw 58 pitches, 34 strikes. Command wasn't great, but he did keep you in the game. that game could have gotten really out of whack quick. And Woods Richardson was okay. But yeah, it just, I'm not going to sit here and overanalyze it too much because it's just a weird circumstances last night. And, I still like the way the team battles, competes. That's a tough one to grind out. And Roman Anthony, that at bat he had against Duran in the ninth inning, one of the elite closers in baseball, should tell you all you need to know. I don't care what Roman Anthony's batting average is. 275 is fine. And people have been hard on him. If you watched him last night, that's where you separate the men from the boys. That at bat he had against Duran, he's never seen. And Duran was really throwing him a lot of good stuff. Splitters, he was going 88, breaking balls, throwing 100. Then he threw, breaking ball, and then he went with 100, and Anthony nailed that RBI single. That at bat was unbelievable. He had 2 more hits. He had 2 more walks. I don't know if I love him leading off. I trust Core on this. I prefer the speed guy, especially on the road, and here's why. Duran can have an offer and impact the game. He can reach on an error to start the game. I like his dynamic speed that puts pressure right off the bat. He hits a slow chopper to third to start the game, and there's a throwing error. Now, I know you can't account for throwing errors, but I just like that impact speed guy. But Anthony is a very good leadoff hitter because he sees a ton of pitches, and I think that's what they want. And so does Duran. And we'll see. This is what, Cora said, this is what they're going to do for a while. So let's just see how it goes. I mean, it's hard to argue last night. Duran was 1 for 4 with a double. He had 2 more strikeouts. His Story, 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts. And Roman was very good leading off. But I do like the speed guy. What do you guys and gals think? Speed for me is good. But I just, like Will Middlebrooks, we're just scratching the surface. This guy's a superstar. He's an absolute superstar. You just have to watch. We get too ingrained in the Google machine, as they say. Just watch even closer. That at bat, if you didn't see the at bat, go back and watch. That's an elite closer throwing 100 in the ninth inning. You've never seen him. And Anthony looked unfazed. That's a big league at bat, and that's when you know a guy is legit and a guy that they're probably going to give a big contract to. I really believe that. I'm trying to. I do this a lot. I actually do it, and I'll be with the Woo Sox this week and next week. We're home for 2 straight weeks. We're going to see a lot of those. Connolly Early and David Sandelin were called up. I don't think they're pitching till later this week. We play the Phillies affiliate, by the way. Aaron Nola is going to rehab against us Thursday for the trade deadline. But I think the young guys are going to be pitching later in the week. So there's been multiple reports that the Red Sox are looking at Edward Cabrera of the Marlins, the other Marlin. You guys know I like Alcantara, because I've watched a few of his starts. His stuff is really good, and he has a really good slider, which I know they like. But the results have been, up and down. Cabrera's had a nice year, 4-4 with a 3.48 ERA, 17 starts, high strikeouts. The guy's just been hurt a lot over his career. Signed for this year, $1.9 million. I mean, think about that. He's making $2 million at 25 years old, and he would probably be your number 3 starter. So that's some of the things, I listened to Corey yesterday, and he made a great point because he doesn't like to go back to last year, and I don't blame him. Last year has nothing to do with this year. And he said, we limped going into, and I got the quote, we limped going into the trading deadline last year with a bullpen. We basically made moves just to swap guys out, just to give guys break. This year, it's one of the best bullpens in the big leagues. It is. 4th in the big leagues in ERA. But you have guys that you've won a lot of games where the bullpen has had to go scoreless. And so, it makes it sound like they're okay with the bullpen, but you don't know if Cora is just saying that either in terms of that. What he said doesn't mean that they wouldn't add. But I like what he said about going into the deadline this year. It's a different club. You didn't have Chapman, Crochet, Bregman, Justin Wilson, Roman Anthony, Carlos Narvaez. That's a big, I think sometimes with the deadline, I think you definitely want to improve, but I think the Red Sox improved in the offseason. They made a lot of moves in the offseason. I think the trade deadline can enhance your season, right, and take you, in 2018 when the Red Sox got Steven Pearce, did they realize that was going to be one of their biggest hitters down the stretch? So it's definitely important, though, to add for this club because this is a club that is a wild card team right now, and I think they do need a couple pieces to enhance their team. But you should never get to the deadline where it's make or break. Like last year, that team was going okay, but they weren't really that good in reality. And like Rob Bradford said, to have gotten a Crochet, you would have had to trade Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. So good thing that they didn't do that and act irrational. But here's the thing that, and I'm seeing a lot of people don't want to trade anybody, right? Peyton Toley's off the no. We're saying no, fans are saying no to him. I don't know how you feel about Early or Sandlin, but if you say no to those three guys and you don't want to trade Duran, which I get, and I don't think you should either, and you don't want to trade Rafaela, which I get, or Abreu, you're running out of options here if you want to upgrade. That's the problem. So, like, if you don't want any of these guys to get traded and you just want to trade Yoshida, the password, and Vaughn Grissom, like, you're not going to get anybody. Like, we're still, like, all the mock trades I see and the trade things I get are still not uncomfortable. It's what you're comfortable giving up. And it just doesn't work that way. I don't know what anyone thinks of the password. I love him. I see him play all the time. We like him, but we don't know. We don't, like, again, there could be another outfit. Spencer Jones is far and away better than him. Maybe not as good as an outfielder, but as an impact bat. But it's not. You're still going to have to get a little uncomfortable, like, because we're talking about Yandy Diaz and Mitch Keller and those guys. Those guys are still you still have to get uncomfortable with those guys. Unless the Rays are just about getting out of the money, you might have a little more leverage there. It's not a lot of money, but to them it is. If they want completely out of that money, then maybe you could send a Garcia. But if you're, and again, this is where, I'm just saying, where are you thinking? If you're thinking big, you have to go uncomfortable. And we've talked about this a lot. You can't just give up the guys you want to give up. Vaughn Grissom has no value to anybody. He can't play defense. They tried him at first, that didn't work. They tried him at third, that didn't work. He made a big error at second base the other day that lost them the game. He's not good there. He's not good at short. He can't run. So he's got a couple tools. Teams want toolsy guys. Like, as much as Blaze Jordan is having a good year, he can't run. He's an okay fielder. You got to expect him to hit. Like Nick York got Jaquin Priester. Nick York had a lot more tools. He was a pretty good hitter. He was a good base runner. He was a good defender. He did a lot of little things, and it got you a 40-man pitcher that was in the minor leagues. So think about where you want to be. If you want to get uncomfortable and bring in someone big, you have to think big. And listen, I would love for them to get Mitch Keller and Yandy Diaz. If Tampa doesn't care about the money, you're talking 8 to 10 players easily. Now, maybe the Red Sox are okay with departing with 2 pitchers because of the draft, right? They might like these guys in the draft better. We don't really know what they think of their own guys. We don't know that. I don't know that. And again, we don't know what other teams think. Sandlin's Rule 5 eligible. That's huge. I like those guys. I think Connolly Early, it's amazing. Nobody's talking about him just because he's not the number 1 pitching prospect. It's amazing how those rankings with people, I mean, like, I get it, but he's been one of the best starters in the system all year. He's really good. Look at his numbers. He's really young, but I think he's the third pitching prospect in the system. Tolley's pitched 5 games in Double A. He's great fastball. I don't know if he's a starter long term. A lot of people don't know, think that maybe for now his fastball is so elite that he could just be a reliever in the big leagues right now. But I haven't seen anybody talk about Early or even Sandlin. It's just Tolley. And the other two are kind of like, which is good, I guess. I don't know. And maybe Early, Sandlin, and Tolley, maybe all three find the big leagues at some point. Probably not all three, but maybe, if Tolley ends up a reliever in the bullpen because he's not throwing a lot of innings. But that's an interesting dynamic. Where are the Red Sox with them? Where do they think of them? The fact they promoted 2 of them, then they promote guys too that are Rule 5 eligible. They did that. I've seen that for years, and they trade a lot of those guys. So maybe Sandlin's a trade guy. We'll see. But that's intriguing because if Sandlin and Early do well in AAA, maybe both of those guys help this club down the stretch. So that's a dynamic that, when we're talking about pitching, maybe it just comes from within. And that's been the plan. And that could be the plan the whole time. That's cool. That's a cool thing. Let's get to your great comments. At Walter Ingalls -U7R. You guys have quite the handle. It's got to clean up on the striking out whole team. Yeah, that's an issue. It's 4th most in the big leagues. A lot of the analytics people say that strikeouts aren't bad. I've never understood what they're talking about. They claim that even if you strike out but then hit a 3-run homer, it all equals out. I still don't. There's no world where I ever think striking out's a good thing. It's not. It's a lot of people that say that have not really worked in the game or don't know. That's a ridiculous statement. Striking out is never good. I've heard, keep shot of double plays. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. At David Crespo -T9P, I think the Red Sox are in a pace to have a better season. Yeah, I agree with you, than last year. Really good against the tough opponents. Yep, Cubs, Phillies, Dodgers. So far, I really like what I'm seeing. I've been enjoying watching the Red Sox play, and hopefully they keep it up. Go Red Sox Nation. Yeah, I agree with you. That was a great series against the Dodgers at home. I thought they battled against the Cubs and Phillies. Came up short. The bullpen has been light years better than last year. And I don't, who cares about last year? Like, I've turned the page from last year. Last year doesn't matter. It's completely different. Bregman and Crochet and Chapman make all the difference. At GooseyTube2411, great stuff, Mike, everyday listener, first-time commenter. Thank you, GooseyTube. At this point, we should give Kyle Harrison a shot because chances he's more effective than Walker. I mean, it's Bueller's day off almost every start. Yeah, but he's been better, believe it or not. Wasn't good Sunday. I don't know if you want to just give a guy a shot when you're trying to win. And they are really working. They're changing his grip on his changeup. They're doing a lot with his grips. Bueller's been okay in July, 1-0, 3.57 ERA. But, I think the eye test tells you a lot of walks. But I'm not ready to swap Harrison out for him. We'll see what happens. It's coming up, guys and gals, Thursday, the trade deadline. Let's get your comments. Let's get you to subscribe because we do have more viewers than subscriptions, but the subscriptions are going up. And Red Sox back at it tonight with Giolito on the bump. I'll be with the Woo Sox watching their game as well. So thank you for watching a Tuesday edition of Red Sox Now. It's all presented by Fan Arts here on YouTube. Go Red Sox.